or more than meets the eye or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
Should be wearing my game night shirt.
Right.
Here we go. I'm wearing my game night shirt now.
Perfect.
Oh. All right. So, all right. So I guess this is like episode 2 now,
Right.
of sorts. I guess we could say.
Yeah. If
Not
this one's only
counting
so
live
long.
play, not counting live play and all that.
Right.
Allspark, Untapped. Welcome and hello.
Yeah. Welcome back.
So today we're talking about the deck that I was playing at the time. I guess I'm still playing it, theoretically. It's one of a couple of decks. And where you showed us your all-blue deck last time.
Right.
There is a... You had Thundercracker in that deck, didn't you?
Yep.
Yeah, so there's a repeat here, being Thundercracker. My character list is Nemesis Prime because reasons. I mean, I like Nemesis. I like Decepticons in general, and so when I was thinking about putting together a Decepticon team, Nemesis Prime, as soon as I drew him, I'm like, I gotta use this guy. Plus, the burning through, the whole object of this deck is to burn through actions in your deck as quickly as possible, so you can get that +3 on the bottom of Nemesis.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, and 10 attack, once you flip through the deck once, makes him, I believe, the strongest attacking character base-wise. And then if you manage to flip the deck a second time and he's still out there, 13's ridiculous, and you just start deleting characters at that
right.
point.
Absolutely. Yep. And so the trick, of course, is to make sure he's on the right side, and there's other things. But Thundercracker is also one of those things that helps with the economy of the actions. And we're in a game store, so by the way, if you guys didn't notice last time, they're having a grand old time up at the register, so you're hearing that. You're hearing that pretty good.
Yeah, it's the, it's one of the joys of a public space.
Absolutely.
So,
we got a guy who says he's going to come in and build us a wall in this little space, so that way we don't have to rely on the curtains.
I didn't think we were that. Didn't think we were that important.
Go figure. But we're actually going to get a little wall. Cool. And some air back here too, because it's really warm. But anyway, so Thundercracker, action, the economy of actions is important with Thundercracker, and then Flamewar because tough one. I mean, let's be honest. He's and plus you need to fill the stars, and he's one of the best uses of the game for flipping early. So if you get stuck on the first turn, which you don't want to be on the first turn of this particular deck, then flip Flamewar and you've got a tough one.
Right, and particularly for characters like Nemesis who already have like 2 defense, like tough one goes a long way, and it lets you really survive a lot longer.
Right.
I kind of underestimated it a lot when it first came out, but it's ended up being just a lifesaver. And I mean, part of that's because I'm in an all-blue deck, but the other part is just that flipping an extra card when you need more health is good. And also, I think it's interesting that both Thundercracker and Nemesis on their alt modes tend to, they both deal damage. Of course, with Nemesis, your opponent gets to choose where it goes, and on Thundercracker, you can only target melee.
Melee, right?
Has that like had a pretty good effect for you?
Yeah, the last game that I played, as a matter of fact, I had gotten 2 of his characters to literally 1 health. And when I flipped Thundercracker, that got rid of the melee character. And then next time through, when I flipped Nemesis, that was the only character left, and so it killed him.
Right.
And bingo, that was it. So I didn't even have to swing through in that case because the flipping of the card just automatically killed him.
Right, and I think that's pretty important when it comes to one strategy is when you have a character with low enough hit points, you want to try to get one last attack with them, and then you get the extra bonus of your opponent has to attack them. So you can wall out a huge attacker with 2 hit points, and Thundercracker and Nemesis are really, really good at getting around that.
Right. Yep. So what does this deck look like? Obviously, the deck's constructed. If you guys can see, this is about the best picture I could get given the light of this space that we've got. Unfortunately, I should have prepared a little bit better, and we will in the future. Make sure that we've got some better pictures to show you. But I think you can see all these. The one with the real big glare is System Reboot. I'm sure most of you can tell that it's System Reboot. But that's one of the white cards. There's only a few white in this particular deck, and But we'll start. I guess we can just start from from left to right, as you see here on your screen. Here I am trying to point because I can't even see what I'm really doing.
Right.
But there's a one of the Energon axe, and it's a blue pip for one, +2, and it's got Pierce. So I mean, what is there's no downside to that. I should probably be running more. It's just that I happen to be one of the ones that went to the convention and got the all-out attack. So I had 3 copies of all-out attack, and I ditched one for an Energon axe because it made it a little bit more consistent for me to up my attack value. Against certain guys that run all blue decks, for example,
yeah,
it helps.
Pierce is pretty good against a deck that's trying to defend for 7.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, Energon Axe is probably, it's currently the best upgrade in the game. I don't think there's too much argument on that front. Particularly when you run a character like Nemesis and you run Flamewar supporting him. He's got so much health, so much defense. He's gonna take 1 damage somehow, and then you can, now he's got +3 attack. And Pierce 2 doesn't mean a whole lot on the big guy, but it, like the +3 attack is just massive.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's the biggest, aside from grenade launcher, which is also in this deck, but then you've got to get rid of grenade launcher.
Right, yeah, grenade launcher is a better leap into battle,
Right.
Whereas Energon Axe is a way better primary laser.
Right. Oh yeah, exactly. Primary laser is what, a +2?
Yeah.
So.
Yep, just +2, no special effects.
Right.
They've established the base rate for an upgrade.
Right.
And there it is.
That's in primary laser. So you see primary laser right there on the lower left-hand side, and so primary laser is what it is. It's a blue pip. If you flip it, it's a +2 to attack, and you need some help sometimes attacking. Flamewar needs all the help he can get when he attacks.
That is the truth. With 3 attack, she's not doing too much, and even if you use the motorcycle mode, which I would honestly never do, like bold 1 is not enough.
Right.
At any point.
Flip an extra card, yeah, woohoo! She's powerful now. Maybe not.
Yeah. Although she is a pretty good recipient for the Energon Axe, because Pierce 2 means a lot when you have 6 attack or less. Yeah.
Right. So if I were, all-out attack is great. I may be looking for something else to go down to 2, maybe reinforced plating. We'll get to it in a second. Brainstorm, of course, the star of the show. Brainstorm is one of those cards that's just, I think, going to be in every single deck that is created, regardless of whether you're trying to cheat out actions for Thundercracker or not. This is just too good a card.
Yeah, I think right now at least Brainstorm just kind of occupies that space where it just offers you so much that, particularly since everybody's running a whole lot of draw right now, it's just too good, because the ability to brainstorm into backup plan and then see your whole new hand and still have an action and an upgrade available is just massive. There's no way around that. It's too good.
It is.
Currently to not include, even in an equipment-heavy deck, even in a deck that's a bunch of upgrades and treasure hunt, I still would probably run Brainstorm. I thought that maybe you wouldn't, but it's just good enough.
It is. It really is. Maybe game designers take note. Maybe if it didn't have a blue pip, maybe you'd think twice. If it had no pips whatsoever, to kind of balance the card out. But right now, it is. There's no reason why it shouldn't be in every single deck.
Yeah, I get why they had to do it, because you're basically discarding 3 cards to take 2 actions. But when one of those actions is, system reboot, draw 4 cards, going down 3 cards doesn't really hurt you.
Right. So there's Brainstorm. Of course, we're going to chain those so the Thundercracker can swing for a lot. And then we've got the handheld blaster, which there's a glare on it, but it is a blue pip. In fact, it's 2 blue pips, right? And it gives you bold 1. And so 2 blue pips. Yeah,
I like the going from a card that you want to play every turn to a card that you never want to play for any reason.
Ever. Right. You want to flip this guy every single time.
If handheld blaster is in your hand, it is in the worst possible spot.
Right.
In fact, that might be the best name for it, because it stays in your hand until you can get rid of it. It never goes on a character.
You really want to. That's where you want to take advantage of. Put 1 card back on top of your deck.
Yeah. or scrap cards.
Right.
If at all possible.
Right.
Get rid of that thing.
Yep, exactly. So then next is 3 copies of reinforced plating, and that is, strictly an armor upgrade, and to give you tough 2, so that we've got a couple extra cards that we can flip when we're defending. Defense is a thing, especially when you've got an opponent that's going to come after your Thundercracker or your Nemesis, whatever they choose to go for immediately, right? So helping them help themselves a little bit on the defense is really important. That's one of those that I really hope I draw in my opening hand, but half the time I just don't.
Yeah, getting through Nemesis with a flipped Flamewar and reinforced plating is just miserable.
Right.
And it puts your opponent in a rough spot because you can throw out this 16 health tank first. You can attack with him first, and even though they have the ability to go after him, their ability to deal any damage is pretty suspect.
Right.
And especially in the first round of the game before upgrades really start going, it's just a brutal kind of a lockdown.
Sure shooting. So then we've got inspiring leadership. This is one of the aforementioned ways to get handheld blaster out of your hand if he's stuck in your hand, right? This guy is strictly, this is one of the first cards in this deck that is strictly there to churn. Let's get through that deck as soon as possible so we get a +3 attack on Nemesis, and that's really why it's there. Yes, it gives you a blue pip when you're defending, but the purpose of the card is to get it and play it, and preferably chain it with Brainstorm, right? So we want to try and get this thing through so we can cycle cards. I mean, that's really the effect of it.
Yeah, I think this has been kind of the hidden value of Brainstorm, is that it takes a card like Inspiring Leadership from being, okay, it got 3 cards off the top of the deck, it got rid of the bad cards in my hand, to like, holy cow, this card just won me the game.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the actual power of Brainstorm lies, is that it takes these other cards that would have been good, they're good, they're fine, and it takes them all the way to like backbreaking.
Right.
And because when you see Inspiring Leadership, you don't even go up a card; it just replaces itself.
Right.
Like you got rid of it to draw 3 and pitch 2, but again, it's so good off of a Brainstorm that it's an absolutely worthy inclusion.
Right. I was able to one-shot, I think it was Cosmos on that card team that I was playing against, with Brainstorm that went into leadership, that went into another Brainstorm because I picked it up, and then all out attack, and then see you, sayonara, have a nice day. Because Thundercracker at that point, I think, was swinging with the weapon I had on. I believe he was swinging for like 11. Yeah. But I don't remember for sure.
That's been a thing that I really like about that character. I think he's pretty pushed for 8 stars, in that he can get on his own up to 8 attack without even a boost. Just because you brainstormed. And then he's suddenly an 8 attack, which is higher than even Nemesis's, bot base,
right?
And so it's like, I think he fills a really solid role. And if you're running 3 Brainstorms, he should probably be a card that you're looking to include. Basically, it's again where I think, in a similar vein to Brainstorm, I think you should have to look for a reason to not include it.
Right. Like, yeah, exactly. Tell me what's better, right? I've heard you say that before.
Right. Right, it's like, and that's how I feel about Flamewar as well. So it's like those two kind of form a lot of Decepticon cores, just because you have to find me a better use of 13 points than 22 hit points, global tough 1, and one of them can attack for 8 if you just happen to have a Brainstorm. Not even a power buffing, action. Just a Brainstorm that you were going to use anyways.
Right. So those are the blue pip cards. I mean, not counting rollout, which is a 1 of each. But then we've got backup plan, which is one of those again that is it's a white pip, so it helps you draw more cards when you're in the middle of your attack or defense. But it scraps your hand and then draws you 3 cards. Yeah. So again, we're cycling those cards through, and it helps if you're down to no cards whatsoever. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and it works really well because it's very modular. So it's like you can throw out, if you have a good equipment, like you don't have to play it first, right? So you can have a great equipment, use that, and then backup plan, And if you did it off of Brainstorm, even better. But
Right.
you know, again, that's just going to be the common theme is that any draw card, if it came after a Brainstorm, is amazing.
It's fantastic.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But this one is pretty good because in Brainstorm decks, you tend to run out of hand size the turn that you Brainstorm.
Right.
And this is a way to recover that. And you know, because again, it's like I said, you are discarding 3 to take 2 actions,
right?
And you know, you're hoping that they're both good. But backup plan gets you back up to 3 cards, which is usually plenty.
Right. Oh yeah. Then we've got Force Field. You actually talked me into putting this into my deck because of the inherent value of things that are just swinging for so much these days. Right, or at least to start for the first few weeks that we've played this game.
Oh sure.
You know, putting a what was it that I had on there before? It was like a +2 to defense. You know, just a basic armor.
Oh, Blast Shield.
Yeah, it was Blast Shield.
Yeah, the blue grenade launcher.
Right, the blue grenade launcher. Once you hit it, then it goes away. But it was it's a 1 use, but this limits you to taking 4 damage. I mean, that's all you're going to do is take 4 damage. Even if your opponent has Pierce 7, you're just going to take 4 damage.
Right.
And so this is the power of this card is untold. When you're into, you have this on your Nemesis with 2 cards underneath it at the end of the game, and you're at 5 health, and you have this on there. Yeah.
Yeah, you just took an extra turn.
Right. You know,
and I hear that's pretty good in card games.
Yep. Yeah, exactly, right? So there's Force Field. Force Field, again, an obvious inclusion for a lot of decks, especially if you're playing characters that don't have just a ton of defense on their own. This one can really help you survive. Then you've got Rollout, which is a double pip, green and an orange, and I mean it is what it is.
Yeah.
There's just there is inherent value in flipping your characters, especially with Nemesis and Thundercracker, because you're doing 2 damage. Right, and that's really why it's there. It doesn't do any draw mechanics or anything like that, but hey, if I flip them all, boom, I get to do 4 damage to you. You get to pick where 2 of it goes. Right. But 2 of it's going to your melee character, which I hope you still have when I do it.
Interestingly enough, you also get bold 1 for the turn off of Flamewar.
That's right.
And usually you'll use your transform to go ahead and get her back to the good side.
Right.
But everybody keeps that bold 1, so it's that's moderate value.
It is, especially if you flipped it. Oh, by the way, I've got an all-out attack that I'm going to use because it came after Brainstorm.
Yeah, and particularly with Rollout in this deck, like people have lists that are currently running Zap, which I'm really low on that card. It's just an orange pip that says deal 1 damage.
I've seen it played. I just don't. That's one of those that I just don't. It's
right.
Highly situational.
Right, and it's like, and I get it. Like it's totally good, but like you have Rollout in this deck, which says deal 4 damage provided both of my big guys are alive, and that's right. And on top of the additional value, but it's so good, and the fact that it triggers for both.
Right.
Particularly in a deck, so like yours has 9 white pips, and that's like an amazing thing to run into either time.
Right. Oh yeah,
it's great.
It's great. Then you've got System Reboot, and System Reboot's one of those, again, we're churning, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, and it's white, so it helps in any situation when you flip it. That's one of those you want in your hand. In this deck, you want in your hand, but if you flip one, you're not going to cry in your Cheerios either.
Right. No, Reboot is another card that it's kind of situational. It depends on what your deck's doing. When Nemesis is in your deck, absolutely, it's 4 cards. You know, the only other card that really does that is Treasure Hunt, and that's only if you're upgrade heavy enough to exploit it. Because the downside is your opponent gets to draw 4 cards too. So on their turn, presumably if they have another turn, it's always a question with Nemesis, right?
Yeah.
But they'll have 5 cards to work with. They'll have a lot of options to try to dismantle what you set up. But it's worth it in this deck because its trigger is so good and because you're flipping 4 and they're going straight to your hand. And again, like I mentioned, in Brainstorm decks, you hemorrhage hand size.
Right.
And in the game in general, you draw 1 and you can play up to 2 naturally. You know, you're going to be losing a hand size since you start at 3.
Sure. Yeah, and this is another possible trigger for Brainstorm plus System plus Brainstorm plus 2 more actions.
Right.
And now you're swinging a Thundercracker for a base of what, 10?
Right.
And so
It just gets uglier and uglier.
Right. Yeah, uglier and uglier. And then there's the all-out attack. Yes. This is the, I'm going to cheat and swing everybody at you because I think I'm going to kill a character. That's the goal. Right, is to kill a character, and so the swing back is not as, number 1, is not as effective, and 2, it cheats you out of a turn.
Right. And it also has the advantage of being able to prevent, you know, like, I mean, sure, you have the guys who flip and deal damage, but it also prevents your opponent from setting up, you know, like a force field and saying, oh, well, I'm going to attack with this guy, and he's got a force field, haha. You know, you're not going to be able to get through him. And all-out attack basically just says, well, I can just get around that. I don't need to respect it because all your guys are still untapped. You know, so I can attack whoever I feel like. And it's a card where my evaluation on it has gone from like, I guess it's shown how little we currently know about the game.
Right.
Because when I first saw the card, I was like, this card is just busted. I mean, just being able to shut off the one, you know, strategic order of attacks just seemed too broken.
Right.
But and then it went to, you know, it's basically a gamble. You're gambling that my one action is so good, or that my attacks are so good that I don't need an action, basically.
Right.
And a lot of times that gamble will pay off, but sometimes we've seen it fall flat. Sure. I was like, I'm pretty sure you did it against Shockwave, and you just crashed in and dealt like 3 damage. And I was like, well, that's what you get.
Yep. I did absolutely jack. So it's situational. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And when it doesn't, you get hit back pretty hard.
Right, yeah, because you were also, you know, saying, okay, you can attack whoever you want on my side. I was just hoping you'd get less attacks.
Right.
I don't have the books anymore,
Yep.
but I
So then, rounding out the orange pips as grenade launcher. I mean, do we need to explain anything about grenade launcher? I mean, it's a +4 attack. It's an orange pip when you flip it. You don't really want to flip it because you want to attach to its character, and it goes away after you use it. I mean, it's simple. It's a good attack. It's a good finisher.
Oh yeah.
And you know, it's one of those that it's again situational. You put it on there, you use it when you need it.
Yeah, it's also, you know, one of the few recorded times in history where Flamewar has done any damage. Is having a grenade launcher on her.
Right.
It's another way to push Thundercracker to unbelievable heights.
Yes.
And most importantly, I think in this deck is that it's a way to deal a lot of damage in alt mode, which, you know, a lot of people will look at a deck and they'll say, well, you don't really need to use your alt modes if your bot modes are all great.
Right.
And you know, like, sure, maybe you'll hit one with rollout, you'll get one here and there, but like grenade launcher turns Nemesis's truck mode into 10. And that's like unruly. You can basically deal 12 damage with him by flipping him, throwing a grenade launcher on him, and still getting in for a bunch. You know, you sort of cheated an extra damage across that was undefendable.
Right. Right.
And so it adds a lot of versatility. And until they print something that's similar, or hopefully not better. Honestly, I hope they don't print a better grenade launcher. I think it's fine the way it is.
Oh yeah. No, there's no good reason to create anything better than this.
Right, but yeah, right now it's a staple card. Unless your deck is not trying to win by attacking, I think that currently the only win condition is to kill all your opponent's characters. So grenade launcher is going to be a good card.
Yes, absolutely. New designs is the next one, and this guy just lets you cheat out an upgrade. There are enough upgrades in this deck to where it is advantageous to cheat out an upgrade of some sort, whether that's a handheld blaster or the axe. I would love for it to be the axe, you know, obviously.
Yeah.
A force field is situational, exactly when you need it to plop a force field on Nemesis so he doesn't die. I mean, there's plenty of uses for new designs that is just really powerful. It's one of those cards where I can't think of a good reason why you're not going to include it in a lot of decks.
Yeah. The thing I'll say about it is that in any card game you have a resource system, and in this game your resources are your number of attacks and your action upgrade limit. And so cards like Brainstorm, New Designs, Rapid Conversion, they let you cheat around that limit by trading one for more of the other, and that's always going to be a very powerful effect. Now, like, your deck has to suit it, but when it does, it's amazing. You know, it's like the ability to drop, you know, a reinforced plating and an Energon Axe on a Nemesis on the same turn is just like, how do you top that? You know, as a turn, that's absolutely worth trading your action to get both of those equipments on. And a lot of the time when you play Force Field, you kind of wish you could do more, and so New Designs really lets you accomplish that. You know, it lets you get more out of that turn.
Okay, so the last couple of cards we've got is Thermal Weaponry and Supercharge, and those are okay. You Supercharge gets you bold.
And with Nemesis.
And yeah, exactly. With Nemesis, that helps a lot. Thermal Weaponry is what it says it is, right? It's a +1. It gets you Pierce. I mean, there's several reasons why you want to put Thermal Weaponry in your deck. But both of those are in there strictly for the possibility of flipping an orange pip, of course.
Right.
But they're technical, right? I mean, I can see somebody talking me into using something different with either one of those cards.
So I think Supercharge right now is in a really good spot for Nemesis, because Bold 3 is just, I mean, it basically, for the purpose of Nemesis, it's the same as an Inspiring Leadership or a backup plan.
Right.
Thermal Weaponry, again, if you're playing in a meta where there's a lot of defense running around, so it's like, I know that Ross runs tanks, I know I run, you know, Flono Blue. Having that extra Pierce means guaranteed damage, where it's especially good on Flamewar, because she does not swing for very much. But if you happen to trigger and she gets like Pierce 3, then hey, that's probably 3 more damage than she was going to do.
Right.
You know.
And that's the one good thing, right? Is everybody hates attacking and flipping blue pips.
Yeah.
So this guy helps. It's like, hey, by the way, it's not quite as bad as you thought it was.
Right. And yeah, that's another powerful thing for a card to do. Like, breaking the resource system is one thing, but turning a normally bad situation into a okay thing is great.
Right.
You know, it's just as good, you know, to a point as, you know, turning good cards into great cards is turning a situation that sucks into a situation that's okay.
It's almost acceptable.
Right. Yeah.
Right. It could. You're walking away saying, "Man, that was horrible." Now you're walking away saying, "That could have been worse." You know,
yeah.
It's okay. That was good.
Yeah.
It might even situationally allow you to kick a character.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, absolutely.
And make that big of a difference. So.
Yeah, especially, you know, a lot of lists have seen a lot of play of Demolisher with his 4 defense and 7 hit points, and so he is absolutely frail to the thermal weaponry.
Yes. Yes.
And like, because I mean, yeah, he's got 7 HP to work with. You know, he doesn't have a whole lot in that front. So it lets your role playing guys really pick up the slack and take over. So
right.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's the deck. We actually had a few questions and a few comments that come in via the Reddit subreddit, the TCG Transformer TCG subreddit. So if you guys want to see that, or you know, I'm sure you're going to be putting up a thing.
I'll go ahead and post the video up there.
Yeah, and obviously you can take a look at our Facebook page. We have a Facebook page up that's, by golly, it's Allspark Untapped. How about that?
Well,
imagine that.
Yeah, right.
And always you can post questions there. So we've done a couple of deck tech videos now. I think the next time we're going to get together, and maybe this weekend if we have some time, is just to kind of do a general, hey, you know, what's the state of the game looking like? What is there a meta yet, really? I mean, or is it just a bunch of guys? It's so funny that we talked about this. There's so many guys that are out there posting decks and doing this and pictures of their cards that they're pulling, and yet nobody's playing.
Yeah, Walmart's sold out, but we have, 4 people
right
in the store.
We're getting 4 to 6 guys that come in and play, and yet everywhere is sold out. And I had to talk my distributor out of 3 more boxes, and that was just and luck at that point, because they had it earmarked for somebody else who just didn't show up. So I don't know where all the. I think there's a ton of collectors out there. We just don't have a ton of players yet. So the meta hasn't really been defined. And plus, people are playing what they. Oh yeah, I like Autobots. Boom, card deck. I like Dinobots. Boom, Dino deck.
Right.
Jet deck, Decepticons. I haven't seen very many mixed. Like a Prime team, for example, Nemesis and Optimus. That's a 25-point team.
Yeah, and it's a strong deck. I've seen a couple of those lists, floating around because Optimus works really well with the brainstorm and you can backup plan after attacking with him,
right?
Which is ludicrous.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, so there's I think right now from what I've seen, there's like 3 different kinds of decks. There's the tribal deck, which is like you said, dinos, jets, cars. They printed cards that say this goes in this deck,
right?
And so you want to build the deck for them to go in. Like I said, tanks.
Tanks, yes, that's another one.
Right, yeah. So they printed cards that are like, hey, this deck's got some motion in it. Okay, cool. So I'll build that. The other one is like an MVP deck, and I'd say that's kind of like what we've built, which is like you have Nemesis, you have Shockwave, you have a card that you've built around, and then you have the support squad.
Right.
And so those are starting to surface because it's like, okay, so this guy's obviously really good. How do I make him even better? Like, how do I make him go from really good to broke the game in my favor?
Right.
And then the last one is really just what I call good stuff decks. They just pick some guys that all fill a slot and they just throw them together. So it's like, I think I saw one that was like Jetfire, RC, and it was some Decepticon.
Yes.
It was Starscream. And it was just like, this is just the generic sort of vanilla deck that you have to be better than in order to run the characters that you're running. Because it's a bunch of hit points. It's Starfire or Starscream. Did I say Starfire? I really hope I didn't.
No, you said Starscream.
Okay. Yeah, like that's a Teen Titan, not a Transformer. But no, yeah, Starscream, has bold one on one side, tough one on the other. Jetfire has bold one, and then he can reanimate stuff. So they just like, but so far like nobody's really shook out like which of those decks is good. And like I said, with All Out Attack, individual card evaluations are all over the place. Like, I still see decks running 3 medics. I personally can't stand the card. I tried running it in the mono blue deck, and I couldn't. It was miserable.
Right.
But I mean, I could be wrong.
Somebody's going to find a use for it somewhere, right? Maybe.
Right.
And that's the other thing too, is that there's not very many, or I haven't run into very many cards yet that are just flat useless. There's a couple, but there's way more that I would include in a deck than I would exclude from every single deck.
Right. Yeah, I think there's some where their usefulness has to get proven, and then there's some where you have to disprove it.
And those are usually highly situational.
Yeah.
Right. You're going to use it with this type of build with this character, or otherwise it's not going to be.
Right. Yeah. So. I think the game's in a good spot as far as that's concerned. But yeah, I don't think we'll see a meta shakeout until because Wizards I don't think has offered any kind of organized play.
There's not going to be any organized play.
Yeah, besides the league, and I think that leaves a big creative open space for the game so far. So it's like, and like I said, nobody's sure which cards are good. Like, and a lot of them, I don't even know if they would be good across like state lines. Like maybe your meta is so defensive that Piercing Blaster is like a tier 1 card, but here we're running Grimlock.
Right. Right.
Grimlock's attacking for 12. He doesn't need Pierce 3.
Right.
Yep. So I think it's in a really interesting spot. But I also think that a month from now we're going to be laughing at how we play the game. Looking back,
look how far we've come.
Right. Yeah, it turns out that Flamethrower was the best card when nobody knew.
Right.
Grenade Launcher was trash.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we'll be back in a few days, I think.
Yep.
And we'll talk a little bit, maybe some card specifics, maybe some, hey, you want to play this guy with this guy, who else would you play with this guy? I think that was another question.
Yeah.
What would you pair up together? And so we'll talk a little bit about that next time.
Yeah, we'll try to get some characters that maybe we haven't seen a lot of builds of.
Yeah, that'd be kind of neat. We'll talk through that. So.
Yeah.
All right, until next time, guys.
Yep.
May the Allspark be with you.
Always.
Always.